Uh-huh. Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Get a little bit of an echo. You can't hear anything? Oh, bummer. All right. I don't hear the echo right now. Weird. Seems to be gone. What in the world? That's cool. Wow. So I was thinking, go Diamondbacks. Go Arizona Diamondbacks. So it's going to be the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers in the World Series. And boy, I wish I could have seen Bryce Harper's temper tantrum yesterday. I wish I could have seen it. Because, you know, he hurt his feelings. Like, I'm the best. I should be in every World Series because I'm the best player that ever lived. I would have loved to have seen it. Anyway, I was thinking about if you went to one of those NLCS games in Philadelphia and you caught like a Bryce Harper home run or something like that, do you think you'd be robbed of it before you left the stadium or right after you got out of the stadium? I was thinking about that the other day. If somebody went and caught one of those balls, it's like, when do you think they would be robbed? Because they'd definitely be robbed. What I'm trying to say is Philadelphia is a crime-riddled cesspool. You know, no, DC is not much better, but I mean, hey, you know, I'm just glad that the Phillies aren't going to the World Series. And, yeah, so now I don't care at all what happens in the World Series, but I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks because who cares about JV? Yeah, American League is JV. I said it. Our pitchers are special. They're special. They can't be distracted with hitting or offensive production because they got to think about pitch sequences that are signaled to them from people who have to bat anyway. Because the catchers have to learn all that stuff too, just so you know. But they aren't special enough. They got to be out there crouched all day long, tearing up their knees by the time they're 30. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word, over here. And you can follow me on social media over here on this right side. Sorry about last week. I was sick last week. I'm still not 100%. Maybe you can hear it in my voice. I don't know. People have been like looking at me like, you all right? It's like, you look kind of pale. I was like, well, I have been sick. And even like gaming, you know, where it's like cutting out early because it looked like Madman was about to fall asleep. And that's really what happened. You know, I was like, I don't know, it's been 3 years since I've been sick, so I guess I was overdue for it. And so I got sick and it really knocked me down. And when you start falling asleep and don't realizing it, that's really like throws me off. So mostly what I was doing was sleeping. But I wasn't able to do any like social media and stuff like that until I started feeling a little better. And so, sorry I didn't give you guys any warning or anything like that. It's not like I, you know, faked a federal arrest before I went on vacation or something like that. But yeah, starting to feel better. I got watched so much stuff. I watched Band of Brothers again, all of that. Well, I mean, you know, I put it on and I'd fall asleep and then I'd wake up to the menu and I was like, okay, let's try that again. And then eventually I'd get through them all. I watched all of Band of Brothers. I watched all the Firefly series. I watched all my old Justice League cartoons, you know. So I got caught up on all that, I guess, you know. It stinks being sick because you're like, you don't even have the energy to do what you want to do. You know, you're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. So you go in the bathroom. You feel like you need a nap after that, you know. You know, I can't even play video games. I get tired playing video games. It sucks. I hate being sick. Now it's just a level of discomfort, you know, and it irritates me. Anyway, so sorry if I was gone for a week, and if the show sucks today, you know, that's probably the reason why. So like I said, I was able to watch a bunch of movies, and both of the movies I'm talking about today star Nick Cage, and it's not intentional. It's just that Nick Cage is in so many damn movies, it's not even funny. Say what you want about Nicolas Cage, but the man works. The man works. So since Halloween is coming up, I want to talk about a little ghost story. It's a Nicolas Cage movie called Pay the Ghost. It's a 2015 movie, Pay the Ghost, and I think it's since Halloween's coming up and everyone wants a little scary movie at some point during the Halloween season. This is a pretty good movie that even younger kids could watch, and it wouldn't be too scary. I mean, it would be kind of scary. It's a PG kind of 13 movie, I would say. But Nicolas Cage, he's this hardworking guy in New York and so forth. He doesn't have time for his kids, and he's always busy, and he's just got a tenure. He's a professor, and he takes his kid to this Halloween, and takes his kid to this fair, and he's got he's holding on to his kid with his hand, and the kid's had been saying like, oh, I'm seeing something out the window. There's a vulture flying around in the city and stuff like that. It's just kid stuff, right? And then he's holding the kid's hand, and the kid says, Dad, can we pay the ghost? And while he's holding the kid's hand, buying him a snow cone or an ice cream or something like that, the kid just disappears. He's gone, And so, considering that, abducted children is a very serious crime and, a very serious reality in places like New York City and all over the country and world, really. It is kind of a scary thing, especially if you're a parent or something like that, and you were just holding your kid's hand and the kid is gone. It's got to be so upsetting and frustrating. And of course, it destroys his marriage. Him and his wife getting you lost him. And how something like that can really tear a family apart. So I mean, it's kind of realistic in terms of what's scary about this movie. And so I do like that aspect of it. It has a little bit of American history attached to it, a little bit of Americana, if you will. It's not like he steals the Declaration of Independence or anything like that. But I mean, it has like a story that has roots in the founding of this nation, which is, or before the founding of this nation, I should say, when the first settlers arrived in the Manhattan area. It's cool. It's cool. It's a cool story in that regard. I like stories that have some sort of, that go back in time, show you where it all began. I think that's kind of cool. But I mean, it's a pretty good movie. The end, of course, is a little ridiculous, but like so many horror movies, they tend to be. So, but it's kind of interesting because his kid was missing for a year. There's a scene where they're looking for the kid. He's fighting with his wife because they can't find the kid. Then it's 1 year later, and he's in his own shitty apartment and stuff because it destroyed the marriage. And so, but spoiler alert, they find his kid, all right, who is a year behind in school. So he's got to go back to school, and all his friends are 1 year older than him. It's kind of weird. How do you do that? It's yeah, he's got to do the 5th grade. Everyone else is in 6th grade. Oh, well. How do you explain that? Birthday stays the same, does it not? But he didn't pass 4th grade. Anyway, let's give it I didn't give ratings to this. Let's give us a 8 of 13 stars rating. It's a pretty good movie. I think that most people will like it. There's a scene where they come across this, quote unquote, they're looking for this cult, right? They come across these people who are doing this cult of what's it called? Samhain, and they're like, we need to ask you questions. Obviously, you're learned clergy of this strange cult. Please teach us. And she takes her hood off. She's like, I'm just a teacher, It's of course you're a teacher with your weird rituals. Anyway, pretty good movie. Now, the next movie I want to talk about is a way better movie. And, it's a shame how many fictional children have to die to make good action movies. I've made the joke before that, you see a beginning of an action movie or something like that. You see it's oh, honey, I'm going to give up this life and we're gonna spend time together. We're gonna drive across the country, going to every single baseball park in the nation. We're gonna do that, and then you're like, oh, that chick's dying, or yeah, she's dying, and that's the premise of the movie. Or it's the same thing with a kid, It's Dad, when are we gonna have time to throw the ball around? When are we gonna have time to have a catch, Dad? He goes, I just got this one more job, and then that was, I don't know, was that you? All right. I got one more job. And it was oh, that kid's dead. That kid's gonna die, and start this whole movie going. All right, and so this is a movie called Rage by Nicolas Cage. It's a 2014 movie. So he did this before the year he did Pay the Ghost. So it's called Rage, starring Nicolas Cage. I'm not trying to. Maybe that's why the casting department chose him. What if it's called Rage? Why don't we call it? Why don't we cast Nicolas Cage in Rage? That makes us look clever. But Nicolas Cage plays this character. He's like an ex-mafioso, Irish mob, I think. And he's got out of the life somehow. He got out of doing the illegal stuff. The cops know him. They know he's out, and so forth. And then all of a sudden, his daughter goes missing. There's apparently some sort of break-in at his house while he was out on the town. His teenage daughter, goes missing. Her friends that were hanging out with her say that these guys in masks came in, broke the windows, took the daughter, and knocked them out. So Nicolas Cage's character, he's like, oh, well, this is clearly my old life coming up to haunt me, and so forth. And then his daughter shows up dead with a gunshot wound to the head. And so, I mean, it's pretty awful. It's a pretty awful movie. This is definitely an R-rated movie. But the dialogue, the scenes, the acting is really good. And the sets, amazing. Really well done movie. And it's an excellent story in the sense that Nicolas Cage is having this rage fest, Apparently he is well known as being a guy who's good with a knife. So he's stabbing people, he's shooting people. He's like, who is this that did this to my daughter? And for, 90% of the movie, you identify with Nicolas Cage and his rage. You identify with it. You get it, Like I said, it's a shame how many fictional children have to die to make a good action movie. All right. But there is a lesson. There's a lesson here in Rage, is because you find out that Nicolas Cage's character was wrong. All right. Throughout the entire movie. He was wrong. And he was barking up the wrong tree. Basically the entire movie. But now he's in too deep. He's gone too far. And he has to face the consequences. When the way they do the ending is just very excellent. It's a man who realizes that, rage is not necessarily something you need to work on. You need to make sure you have all the information before you going off all half-cocked, as they say. It's a lesson about anger in many ways. It's a study in your anger. It's like, yeah, you may feel like your anger is righteous and that you're justified in what you're doing, but it could get to a point where, in retrospect, you're like, boy, I was out of line. I really shouldn't have done that. I was out of line. I went too far, and I made a big mistake. And this is what this movie is about. It's a series of big mistakes, and so that's why I got to give it like a 12 or 13 star rating. It's really good. I mean, if you like action movies, if you like a good moral lesson, towards the end of the movie, I think that this is the movie for you. I was really surprised. I really didn't think much of it because I haven't heard much about this movie. And I think it's incredibly... There's this one scene that's set, and I was like, they're fighting on this rooftop, and it just rained, and so there's this layer of water on the rooftop, and they're fighting on, and I'm just like, that's a very cool aesthetic. During just a fight scene, just add a layer of water. It just rained. Really good movie. Rage. 2014 movie. All right. We'll talk about some other things. Before we get into the news, talk about some other things. I know you probably don't listen or care about or subscribe to Censored.tv, but I do. And Gavin McInnes has been doing this Battle of the Bands after the last few weeks, and it's really kind of irritating me. It used to make me angry. Now I'm just generally irritated because I've been thinking way too much about this. And when you're doing like when I say it's a battle of the bands, he's having these discussions about what's the best bands ever. The best bands ever. So of course you're talking about bands like AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, give me some Van Halen, Queen, I should hope. I don't hope he talks about Queen at some point. You know, so you're talking about like the best bands of all time, and so he's doing these like exposés on, like, he'll talk about Van Halen for one episode, and like talk about like these are all their hits, and he's going through the videos. Is like, we're not counting Van Hagar because it really sucks. So nothing past 1984. So, and then he's doing this. He uses this metric called hit jams per year metric, and I think it's a pretty clever way to like add some objectivity to it. It's like, okay, you know, this is the band, they've had like 1.5 jams per year, you know, and it's an average throughout the lifetime of the band, you know. And then there's like for example, because he doesn't consider Van Hagar to be part of Van Halen, you know, that's the time frame, you know, from the late 70s to 84, you know, Van Halen. So that's where he gets the number from. And then he started talking about the Replacements. Now, I don't know if you know about the Replacements, but they're not that great. They're not that great. You know what they are? They're one of Gavin's favorite bands. All right. And somehow it ends up on this list. It ends up on this list. Like, I would argue that AC/DC doesn't belong on this list. I could make an argument for that. However, AC/DC is on the list, but the Replacements for sure do not need to be on the list. AC/DC, I would argue, sounds far too similar. All their music sounds far too similar. Although that, you know, they've had great jams, you know, it eventually all starts to sound the same if you listen to the AC/DC too long. It's great in a mix. AC/DC is great in a mix. But an AC/DC album, you know, it all kind of blends together after some point. So I could say the AC/DC doesn't belong on the list, but I'll tell you what, the Replacements certainly don't belong on the list. And then I started thinking about like how pissed off I am that the Replacements ended up in Gavin's list of the best bands ever. And I'm just like, you know, if I had pioneered this, if I was doing this show, would I talk about Dave Matthews Band? Because there was a long time that Dave Matthews Band was my favorite. And that would be my bias creeping into the list, you know? And then I would be sitting there saying, like, oh, you know, obviously off the Under the Table and Dreaming album, there's definitely three hits there that got radio play. But when you're talking about jams per year, or you're talking about hits per year, you know, it's got to be relatable to everyone. It's like everyone knows It's a Long Way to the Top, you know, if you want to rock and roll. Everyone knows that, you know, because it was played on the radio. Everyone loved it. Everyone liked it, you know. But some of these Replacement songs, some of these Dave Matthews Band songs, you know, a lot of people, like, even the people who liked those jams back in the day don't even remember that it was Dave Matthews Band that did it. You know what I mean? In many ways, the 90s had kind of a background, you know, like there was like, it was like wallpaper, you know? 90s music in many ways was like wallpaper. It was just kind of there. So when you're having this conversation about the best bands of all time, it's like Dave Matthews Band doesn't belong in that conversation. The Replacements doesn't belong in that conversation. I don't know who I'm complaining to. It's just something's been on my mind, thinking about it. Because wouldn't you care? Don't you care about what like the best band is? It's like, because it's an interesting conversation to have no matter what. You know, because nobody's going to come to the same conclusion, even if you're using a metric like, you know, jams per year. You know, even if I said like Queen, like for example, I would say that Led Zeppelin is better than Queen. All right. Just because of the simple fact that it's like they had like a, I don't know, cooler aesthetic and sound. Queen was excellent technically, among other reasons, but I mean, they also didn't hang out in one genre long enough. You know, unless you consider pop a genre, and then they stay in that a lot. But I mean, they were progressive rock when they first started, Queen, and so you know they had a lot of different styles and stuff like that. They experimented with it. They're a bunch of nerdy band kids. You know, don't forget that. You know, you can even think about the guys from AC/DC is like, oh, those are hardcore satanic bastards, you know. It's like, nah, That kid sat and played his guitar over and over and over again until he got that good. That's the point. It's the whole, what's his name? Angus, the guy who wears the kids outfit from AC/DC. Yeah, he wears the short pants like he's a schoolboy from England. The reason he does that is because that's how he learned to play the guitar. He'd come home from school, first thing he'd do is pick up his guitar and start playing. It became his lucky guitar playing outfit. Anyway, I'm going to talk about one more thing we get in the news, and that's Rick and Morty season 6. Something else I was able to see during while I was sick. You got that image there? Yeah, I watched Rick and Morty season 6. Wasn't great. I know that there's a lot like going on over at Cartoon Network and what's the Green Portal Productions or whatever, because of what's his name, Justin Roiland and all that. And I understand there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but I think that the season 6 it really isn't as good as it used to be. I know, like a lot of people say that it's like Rick and Morty ain't what it used to be, and that's true. And what I felt from watching these, and this is hardly scientific, obviously. What I felt from watching these episodes is that there's a kind of a bleakness to it, a nihilistic bleakness, where it's like, nothing really matters. I guess I'm gonna bang a clone of myself. Nothing really matters. I guess I'll just create a bot of myself and who will love Morty because that's what Morty wants. And so I didn't think it was really very good. The references and stuff like that, the jokes try to come, and it doesn't seem to have that snap that they used to. There's only one episode I really liked, and that was the where Jerry beats up Pissmaster. Now, if you haven't seen it, have you, EK? Okay, I'm trying not to spoil it. But Rick comes to this conclusion. Let's say Rick comes to this conclusion that he's going to start ignoring all these C-tier villains that try to challenge him and stuff like that. And so so this guy Pissmaster shows up at the house and starts like shooting piss all over the house, and so Jerry gets upset because those are his hydrangeas or whatever like that. So he's like, I gotta go deal with this, and he goes out there and beats up Pissmaster, this C-level supervillain, I guess you would call him. Beats him up in his yard, and what's her name? The daughter. What's her name? Shit. Beth, and what's her name? Morty's sister. Why am I blanking on this? All I'm thinking about is Sarah Chalk. Huh? Summer. Oh my God. Took me a second to figure it out. Both EK and I are brain farted. And Summer records video of her dad beating up Pissmaster, and it goes viral. And Rick warns Jerry, saying, there's then all of a sudden there's like knocks on this door. He's like, Jerry, this is what's going to happen, because believe it or not, there's someone out there jealous of Pissmaster. And so, so Jerry, he kind of gained some internet fame with beating up Pissmaster, and these aliens come down and they give him this orb of power because he likes to fight for justice, because Jerry fought for justice. And so he didn't know what to do with it, so he asked Rick to do something with it. So Rick made a power suit for Jerry based upon this orb they gave him. And so Jerry goes and tries to fight crime like a Green Lantern or something like that. Goes to some other planet where there's a meeting, a convention of Hitlers happening. He's like, oh, that's got to be a bunch of bad people. And he goes down, tries to break up this meeting of Hitlers, and they start shooting at him. It gets crazy. Jerry panics, backs out into orbit, and fires some nuclear accelerator at the planet, destroys the planet. And he goes, gee, I hope there wasn't anyone on there. that was innocent, and luckily for him, there wasn't. So I did like that episode because it's kind of like, it reminded me more of like a Venture Brothers episode where it's like these ridiculous, C-list, villains having conversations, arguing with their day-to-day lives and stuff like that, and how mundane it is. Because that's what I really liked about the Venture Brothers, And so I like the idea that there's like Rick Sanchez is somewhat of a superhero, so he's got to deal with these, C-tier guys who keep showing up, ended up in his electric fence. You know what I mean? You got another. I got to see it. Looks like Crocodile. I'm gonna have to see if he's got any henchmen further down. Trying to get over the electric fence. So I kind of always liked that aspect of Venture Brothers, and when Rick and Morty did it. But like I said, there was a bleakness, this nihilistic bleakness. I mean, the show always had kind of, it's like, what does it all mean? It doesn't mean anything. How ridiculous everything is. It's because, the universe is a ridiculous place. Even if you don't live in Rick and Morty's world, the universe really is a ridiculous place. So, I mean, you got to come to terms with it in some way. And like humor is the way that most people, especially Rick and Morty fans, deal with it. And I think even the Rick and Morty crew, the people who work on it, it's like a lot of you, feel that bleakness, that sadness. It's like, what are we really doing? What does it all mean? And if you're a creator of art, that can come through in your art, and it's something I don't want to come through in my art, even if I do have those moments of bleakness and nihilism and so forth. Because I want you to understand, it's like there's stuff to believe in, there's stuff to have faith in, and I think that that's a big problem with Rick and Morty, and it always has been, is this anti-Christianity kind of concepts. That they've used it a lot. They've made Jesus jokes and stuff like that, and religion jokes. But I mean, I think most people need Jesus these days. I think you need a little bit of, faith to get through it, because it's a hot mess out there. It's a hot mess out there, and you never know. There's some group of knights in the middle of the sun cutting their Johnsons off. Anyway, so this is going to be into this section. We're going to get into the news. I'm sorry. I'm feeling worn down. And this is all out of order. What is Facebook is always doing this? Why do we use this stupid? Anyway. All right, let's talk about the Israel thing. All right. Israel Air Force reveals note Hamas fighter allegedly carried during the October 7th attack. So the Israeli Air Force published a chilling handwritten note Wednesday that it alleged was found on a Hamas fighter who invaded the country on October 7th. Quote, the words from Hamas commanders, according to the Israeli Air Force, consist of an order to kill Jews and encouragement to decapitate their victims and tear out their hearts and livers. They know that this is a continued quote, know that this enemy of yours is a disease that has no cure other than beheading and extracting the hearts and livers. The Israeli military agency quoted the note saying that was on a post on X. The emergence of the purported note comes days after Israel released what it described as gruesome and unseen body camera footage of Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack in order to counter a, quote, Holocaust denial-like phenomenon evolving in real time. Yeah, that is what's happening. Yeah. So, the screening happened in Israel on Monday morning. Some of the content, according to Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin, included Israelis being ambushed in their cars, a girl being executed after Hamas terrorists found her hiding under a desk, and a father dying after a Hamas fighter threw a grenade into a bomb shelter that he and his 2 children were seeking cover in. Yeah, so obviously, gruesome stuff. Israeli government spokesperson Elon Levy said in a video posted on X before the release that the Israeli Defense Forces have been collecting footage from body cams taken from Hamas death squads, and that they would be making the footage public to maintain a record to counter those who doubt whether certain events took place. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously very bad, but of course, the people who hate the Jews are going to be saying, like, oh, there's no Holocaust happening while it's happening. Calling these people a disease, I mean, that's very reminiscent of, we had that big war, middle of the 20th century. What was that? Sounds very similar to that. It's like, how do people not get this? How do you not get that, it's very this irrational hatred of the Jews. It's the same kind of thing. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. I think a lot of people have difficulty understanding the hatred of certain people. But if you think about like the most bullied nation of people ever in history, it's the Jewish people. Why is it okay to hate them? I don't get that. It's like we spent all these years, you're calling every single Republican Hitler since George W. Bush. You're calling every single one of them Hitler, but you have real life Hitlers running around in the Middle East and you don't know what to do about it. Because you can't really fathom the truth of it. They hate them. Why? Because they're there. It doesn't make any sense. And if just because it doesn't make any sense to you doesn't mean it doesn't make sense to somebody else. You can't, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not feeling well. My brain's not working very well. This might be short. Sorry. But these people, these Hamas, Hezbollah, they're monsters. They're monsters. And they should be put down. They should be put down. Same as like murderers in the United States, criminals in the United States. You need to spank that ass. You know what I mean? Until they learn their lesson. Sometimes it means a lot of deaths. Sometimes we kill, but the real job is to save lives. Anyway, let's go into something even more boring. Let's talk about these Republicans. Republicans exude optimism as fourth speaker candidate heads to the House floor. So the Republicans are jubilant as they coalesced around a new speaker nominee a day after the marathon closed-door meetings on Tuesday. GOP Conference Vice Chair Mike Johnson from Louisiana became Speaker designate on Tuesday evening, the fourth Republican nominee in 3 weeks. But House GOP lawmakers insisted that the conference is finally on the same page and ready to unite under Johnson's leadership, teeing up a House-wide vote Wednesday just after noon. So maybe that's still going on. I'm not seeing any updates here. Okay. Quote, my wife and I were talking, and I said, if we're going to get somebody like Mike Johnson, we would be very fortunate. Representative Tim Burchett from Tennessee told reporters after the vote. I think he'd be an excellent choice because he's very cerebral. Burchett said, he's kind of a goober, but I dig that about him. There's an old saying in East Tennessee, he's cleaner than a hound's tooth. Burchett is one of 8 House Republicans who voted to oust ex-Speaker Kevin McCarthy from California 3 weeks ago on Tuesday. He said Johnson brings something to the table that's lacking in Washington. Representative Michael Cloud from Texas is one of the original 20 lawmakers to oppose McCarthy's speakership bid in January, called Johnson a capable and good man. I think it was important to make sure that we got the right person for the American people, he told Fox News Digital. Yeah, so Matt Gaetz, I want to slap that guy, Matt Gaetz. And, it's just, all you did was make the Republican Party look stupid. That's all you did. And I mean, it's not the time to clean your own tent when you're not in power. When you have a slim majority in the House, and the Democrats have the Senate and the executive branch. All right. Now's not the time to be cleaning house with, strange crusades. Anyway. Let's go on to the next story. Holy cow. Going through them fast. So, aircraft departing without permission at Texas airport causes collision from the FAA. Private plane departed without permission in Texas on Tuesday, colliding with another private craft as both were moving on an airfield at William P. Hobby Airport in Houston. The Federal Aviation Administration confirmed to Fox News Digital that the incident happened at 4 p.m. local on Tuesday. Officials said the twin-engine Hawker aircraft departed without permission from runway 22 at the airport when it collided with a twin Cessna C510. C510. Yeah. That was landing on runway 13 right. The Cessna C510 taxied to the ramp area following the collision. The FAA said no injuries reported on either aircraft. The FAA said it's still investigating how many passengers were on board the planes, but a twin-engine Hawker can fly 9 passengers, while a twin-engine Cessna C510 can hold up to 6 passengers. Authorities said debris caused the collision to put the airport on a ground stop, shutting down the airfield for several hours. Around 7 p.m. local time, Hobby Airport posted on X all debris had been cleared from the airfield and that flight operations had been restored. The debris has been cleared from the airfield. Hobby Airport has restored flight operations, Hobby Airport officials said. Please contact your airline for flight status. So I picked this story up because, like Gavin McGinnis, it's like, hey, there is a competency crisis. People are idiots. And sometimes the best and brightest aren't being put in the best positions, And it can mean accidents. It could mean that world of idiocracy where planes are falling out of the sky all the time. This stuff is happening too often. So, bear that in mind. I wonder if EK went into the bathroom. Alrighty, so let's go on this story here about the dangers of being Instagram famous. So, man jumps into Disney World's Epcot Lagoon after a $6,000 bet. You're going to get kicked out. A visitor at Walt Disney World jumped into the lagoon at Epcot on Monday after being warned that he could be kicked out of the park. Brandon and Gwen, who run the Instagram account Dis Family Adventures, told Fox 35 they were walking through Epcot's Italy Pavilion around 5:30 p.m. when they overheard the man with his friends acting up before he jumped into the World Showcase Lagoon. The friends were talking, quote, about a bet and told a man that he'd give him $6,000 under the condition he jumped into the lagoon. I wanted to stick around to see if anything would happen, Brendan and Gwen said. The man then proceeded to climb onto the railing. He could be heard saying, "How deep is the water?" Before the man jumped in the water, other Disney visitors could be heard yelling at the man. "You're going to get kicked out of Disney, mister," one person could be heard saying. "He's going to jump," another person said. According to the couple, security at Disney World was nearby. They weren't doing anything? A Disney manager was on her radio even before he hit the water so when he joined his buddies. What? A Disney manager was on her radio before he even hit the water, so when he joined his buddies. Disney security was right behind him. Okay. Brendan and Gwen said. While Walt Disney World didn't respond to a request for comment from Fox News Digital, its website states that engaging in any unsafe act is prohibited. Yeah. But you're not going to stop him? Seems weird. $6,000? I don't know. I'd do it, I guess. But I mean, it's not like, you can take him to court if he doesn't pay. Anyway. Yeah, we're going to end up cutting this off early. I'm tired. Yeah, I got 2 more stories, and then we're heading out of here. 2 more stories. I think Kay's in the bathroom. He's like, I had no idea you go through the stories this fast. Me too, dude. Me too. I guess maybe I'm not at 100%, huh? Sorry. All right, so let's hear about this genius theft. Man poses as a mannequin in storefront, goes on shopping spree after the mall closes. Is it a shopping spree? If you're not paying for it? That's a crime spree, is it not? A stealing spree? A theft spree? All right, so an alleged thief found a clever way to hide from authorities in Poland, posing in a store window as a mannequin. A 22-year-old with a bag in his hand froze motionless, pretended to be a mannequin in the front of the shop window, police said in a translated statement. In this way, he wanted to avoid being exposed by the cameras. Police said the clever thief posed in the window display motionless until the mall store closed. Once the last customer had left and the mall doors were secure, the man broke from the stance and robbed the jewelry stand, police said. Authorities said that the thief came back for round 2 on another occasion. This time, he ate his fill at one of the food stations before stealing a new outfit. Afterwards, he returned to have more food. Polish authorities said that eventually the man's luck ran out when he was noticed by mall security guards. He was arrested, and police said that he could face up to 10 years in prison. This was not the man's first time stealing from a shopping mall, according to police. Police said they took money from a cash register and attempted to steal other items after it closed. Think of this image of him like standing there, just standing holding the bag. Oh, I can't believe they fell for that. I can't believe that worked. Anyway, let's get into this last story before we get out of here. I may have to shut down this thing myself. Getting kind of warm in here. Kind of lonely. Anyway. Fishermen find grenade in local river, leading to bomb squad arrival and controlled explosion. 2 men were fishing in a local canal when they happened to pull an unexploded grenade from the river. Friends behind the TikTok account at Magnet Fishing Edinburgh found an interesting object while on a recent fishing occasion in early October. The pair, who have almost 500,000 TikTok followers, told SWNS, the British news service, that they were on the Union Canal in Linlithgow, Scotland, doing some magnet fishing when they pulled a grenade out of the river. One of the fishermen named Bob, no less named Gavin, even in Scotland, the fisherman is called Bob. That's Bob. He's a fisherman. Nope, no Scottish accent. His name's Bob. He said they moved down the bridge to another location after not having much luck. That's when they spotted the weapon. Our nerves started kicking in, and we were trying to keep confident that make sure that everyone was secure and safe. The pair said they spotted a couple of people walking by, told them to walk a different path in case anything happened to the unexploded device. Once we got it, we ended up contacting the police, and they got a bomb squad out and to come take care of it. The fisherman told the Southwest News Service, SWNS. After waiting from afar for the police to look into the situation, men said the officer told them the positive news was that they saved the town. This is the last story, EK. Positive news that they saved the town, but they also delivered some disappointing news. Bad news is that your magnet will be blown up with a grenade. You recall the police officer telling them the explosive was taken from the canal and exploded in a controlled environment, according to a spokesperson for the Scotland police. A pair of successful magnet fishing social media videos have shown them finding various electronics, shovels, wagon arms, alarms, metal poles, motorbikes, and more. 2 are located in Edinburgh, Scotland, and have traveled to other areas to see what they can capture in the waterways. You see that arc of spit? Just go. Anyway. Although rare, it's not the first time a grenade has been found with magnet fishing outing. In 2019, a man found an authentic World War II hand grenade while magnet fishing in Ocklawaha, Florida. Ocklawaha, Florida, I don't know. The man, however, just put the grenade in the trunk of his car and drove to Taco Bell before calling 911. Well, I'll get a taco and then call the cops. After the man alerted the bomb squad, the evacuated Taco Bell in Ocala, Florida. The grenade was removed and disposed of properly, according to Ocala Police Department. Okay. So, yeah. Finding a grenade, in a river. It's almost like, maybe that's why you shouldn't be magnet fishing. Boom. That could have been bad. Anyway. Like I said, it turns out I'm pretty tired, exhausted. I can only go about 45 minutes, and I'm running out of energy. Anyway, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word, on the Cash App. Follow me on social media over here at Denalsa on Twitter, Shock Monkey Redux on Facebook, SL Robbins 13 on Instagram. I'd appreciate that. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe my videos. Yeah, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.